We should be live. Hello, everyone. So I'm 20 million minutes old now, over that by now, and I thought it was a good reason to go live. So LinkedIn AMA, ask me anything in the LinkedIn chat. Some people already are putting in some questions there. That's really good. First one from Erik Hettinga. I know you from Docento/Me Magento, but I didn't know you were into marketing/CRO. How did you grow into both subjects? Yeah, that's a bit of a split personality I have, I guess. So with the Docento Me Magento, that started out in 2008 when I started out. I switched. I moved on from Joomla. Used that as a community platform, as a platform before where I built communities, and did built some CMSs on that, organized events for that too. And after a while, check my setup. After a while, I I didn't necessarily get bored, but because I also was already into marketing CRO back then, with Joomla, at least back then, when you were building websites, usually the project ended when the website went live. That's towards the end of the project usually. But for me, as a psychologist, as someone working on CRO, the most and usability and UX, the most interesting part actually starts after you've launched the website. Then you can start collecting data of your users, at least Google Analytics kind of data, behavioral data, and then it starts to become really interesting. So I was looking for something else that tickled my interest, and e-commerce, by definition, you'll make money with that. At least that's the intention. So that's when I got into contact with Magento. I did a lot of community building for that one too, of course. But I found that was way more interesting, and because also the companies that have web shops, they are willing to put money into optimizing their shops, in contrast to the companies that just have at least 10 years ago had a website and used that as basically a static catalog, and just it was online, that's fine. So companies don't do that anymore. So that's why I started with Magento, and the CRO part actually became part of that. So my background's in psychology. I studied applied cognitive psychology in Utrecht, here in the Netherlands, and during my college time, I started building websites for people, which had basically nothing to do with CRO or usability back then. But during the study, you'll learn how to make environments or products and get people to make less mistakes. That's basically the goal of the study and the research you do, and how you apply that to the products and the services. So yeah, getting people to make less and less mistakes, and of course you can also apply that to websites. The study wasn't applying it to websites, unfortunately, back then, but the principles are the same. You do user research, you test that, you validate that. Online we do this with A/B testing, and yeah, for me it's a great combination to do that, to apply that usability side, the CRO side, to e-commerce. For me, that's a match made in heaven. So that's why I'm doing both. So I hope, Erik, that answers your your question. So some other questions. Why do you have LinkedIn Live? And specifically, why do you, Guido, have LinkedIn Live? I just applied for it, and I don't know. I was on top of the list. I don't really know. They didn't let me know why I was selected for this. Apparently, at least in the Netherlands, I'm one of those people. One of the few people that have it. I have it for a couple of months now. I see more and more people that it's being rolled out to. But yeah, I don't know the reason. I just applied, and I got in early. Maybe I applied really early to it, and for that reason, I'm one of the first in line to get it. But I don't know. I I did change my not necessarily because of LinkedIn, but I did recently changed my whole setup. Thanks for the thumbs up, Erik. I did change my whole setup to support streaming. I was a long time Mac user, but my MacBooks were very underpowered to do streaming apparently. At least didn't do what I want to do. So I actually right now streaming from a Windows machine. And it's much better. A dedicated graphics card that can do the encoding with NVENC. That really helps a lot. If you're interested in the whole gear, you can actually find that on kit.co/gxjansen. My name, my short handle, GXJANSAN, and then you'll find a couple of kits there, and the live streaming kit. You'll see the gear I use to live stream with right now. Similar question. What kind of camera do I use? The camera I'm using right now, I'm looking at right now, is the Sony RX100 5. I think they are at 7 right now, 7 or 8. It's a 4K camera, but it actually connects to my computer right now. I don't have a separate capture card yet inside my my desktop, but I have an external one, the AYA UTOP, AJA UTOP HDMI, that can handle 180p and sends that over USB-C to my desktop machine. And that's what you're seeing right now. That goes into OBS, and OBS sends it to Restream.io, and Restream.io can spread it out to multiple services, amongst which this one to LinkedIn. So that's what I use for camera and for the other gear to stream. So like I said, if you're interested in this, you can go to kit.co/gxjansen. I'll put that link in the comments too. Let me do that real quick. If you're interested in that, you can look there. So let me see. Oh yeah, so today someone, I'm not naming names, that's not the intention here, but someone saw a video, someone talking, you may know this, maybe it's just me. They were talking about thinking out of the box, which tickles my brain a bit. It's actually thinking outside the box, if you think about it. Out of the box is just when something is new, when you literally get it out of the box. That's standard. That's how things come assembled from the factory. While thinking outside the box, that's of course what most people mean when they say this. It's when you're being creative. You don't think inside the box where everyone is at, where everyone is thinking within the boundaries of that box. You want to think outside the box. So remember that next time when you say it. I can't guarantee I always do it right, but just a small tip there. Oh, a good one to know too. This week I released a new podcast. So I do a weekly podcast on Zero called Zero Cafe. That's the URL, zero.cafe. And I release every Monday. And this Monday I released a session with Rahul Doraiswamy from Australia. He runs covidcrap.org. Well, he runs his own company on Zero. But he also started this initiative, covidcrap.org. Maybe not the most positive or best name for this, COVID crap, but it's a conversion rate. COVID, let me see. COVID crap.org is the website where you can subscribe. So it's the COVID-19 conversion rate 8 package. That's what it's abbreviation for. And what you can do is you can subscribe as a CRO specialist to help businesses in need right now that are in dire need of some help with I don't know, data analysis, explaining customer behavior, the big change in customer behavior that they're seeing. So as a CRO specialist, you can apply there, and as a business, you can also apply at covidcrap.org if you need help, and that can go both ways, right? So if you need help to help with lost sales, so your sales went down. That's something we see right now, of course. Some businesses have over 70, 80, 90% down in revenue. If you need help with that, not claiming that CRO specialists can completely fix that, but at least help it in some way. Or the other way around, if you're maybe 200, 300, 400% up, that can also provide its own challenges. So if you, and CRO specialists can help with that. We are very capable of handling change, knowing what customers want, or at least figuring out what customers want, right? CRO specialists are not necessarily the specialist in knowing how to sell your product. It's your, I don't know, bikes or swimsuits or bread baking machines. That's your product. But CRO specialists are very good in figuring out how that works, why people buy your stuff, why they don't buy your stuff, why they go to a competitor, and what could be your competitive edge there. So that's something you can subscribe to. So covidcrap.org. The podcast about that with Raoul is on CRO.cafe, just on the homepage on top of it. So you can easily find it there. The reaction from Mateus from Brazil. At least I'm assuming you're still in Brazil. Hey Guido, happy birthday. What a fancy studio you have. Yeah, thank you. This is just my attic. I'm trying to make it looking a bit nicer than it used to look. But I think I'm quite happy with being here. It's also very soundproof. That helps. I have a baby sleeping downstairs, so I don't hear it when it's when he wakes up or screams or whatever. Of course, I hear it through this monitor, but at least I have some control over it. But it should be sound asleep right now. So if he starts streaming, I have to NDA him. But so far so good. So happy birthday. So my birthday was actually last month, but I'm 20 million minutes old now. So yeah, thanks for that. Shopware is apparently growing a lot in Europe, especially in Germany. Yes, they are. They have a very cutting edge stack on Shopware 6 from, I'm just reading out. From a developer standpoint, on the business decision, they also look doing the right choices. What are your personal impressions about Shopware, about the Shopware ecosystem? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So I haven't had any clients with Shopware yet. I do know that they are very active in community building, and that's something I, of course, really like and enjoy. They are very active in reaching out to new community members, providing them with information, providing them with care, not only individual merchant, but also the agencies. They're very active in doing that. I know they had a huge event, I think it was in September, their yearly event with developers and agencies. I know Sander Mangel, a fellow Magento master that attended and was very impressed with what is going on there. And he now also actively involved with Shopware. So I'm very impressed with what they're doing. That's really cool. So definitely keeping my eye on that. So not only in Germany but also here in the Netherlands, they are very active in doing all kinds of stuff, and it makes sense, right? Also, I see a lot of Magento agencies and merchants switching to Shopware. Magento is moving more and more up market, and there's definitely a market for that. But at the bottom of the market, there's a lot of a room for other players. I mean, Magento is basically has left the bottom half of the market. I think that's fair to say. And there are a lot of new players, of course. There's a lot, but there's also a lot of competition there. I mean, like WooCommerce, PrestaShop. There's an incredible amount of pieces of SaaS software also, or self-hosted software out there that can compete in that area. So I think it makes sense for Magento to move out of that area, but there's also a lot of opportunities now, especially with Magento 1 end of life coming up. There's a lot of opportunity for both agencies and shops to look around and see what they're doing. Maarten van den Bos, what is the biggest mistake starting CROs make, in your opinion, when they are doing CRO? I think well, there's a couple. Let's just pick one, otherwise this is going to take forever. One of the biggest, I think, starting with A/B testing. Starting with an A/B testing is actually what CRO is known for, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna name two mistakes. So the first one is A/B testing. Starting with A/B testing. A/B testing is just the validation part. You need to figure out. You need to look at your data. For example, Google Analytics. You need to do user interviews or questionnaires, or at least get some qualitative data in, combine it with the quantitative data, and see where customers are getting stuck. Form an idea on why they are getting stuck. Form decent hypotheses on what could be a better solution than what you have right now. And then you start experimenting on what might be a better solution. But you don't start with just running an A/B test, just starting to validate something if you don't know what to validate. That doesn't make sense. You don't just look at the websites, pick something, and then randomly change something for no apparent reason. It might work, but it's not going to yield the biggest results, because you don't know what the biggest bottleneck is. You'll find out what the biggest bottleneck is by looking at the qualitative and quantitative data first. You don't have to spend weeks or months or maybe not even days on that, but that's where you start. You don't start with A/B testing. And the second one I'm going to mention is the CRO. It's a troubling name. Conversion rate optimization. It's not only about the conversion rate. It's not only about that KPI. There's a lot of KPIs that are important. Conversion rate, definitely one of them. Definitely a performance indicator. That's what KPI stand for. Key performance indicator. But it's not the only thing. If your conversion rate goes up, you might celebrate. But if the average order value plummets, you might be in trouble. Your conversion rate might go up. Might be great, but it might be because you've lost a lot of traffic that's relatively bad traffic, but on average, your overall revenue goes down. That's not good for your business, probably. So conversion rates, that's not the only thing you should focus on. So those two things. Don't start with experimenting. Don't start with A/B testing, and don't only focus on the conversion rate. So that was for Maarten. I hope I helped you out with that one a bit. Let me know your follow-up questions. Bart van der Meer, gefeliciteerd. Thanks, man. My sound is off. Your sound is off. Let's see if I have some more questions over here. So thanks by the way for participating in this, and thanks for I see Patrick joining. Thanks for that. Bart asked if my son's going to be the best CRO specialist of the Netherlands. I don't know. That's up to him. That's not me. Not for me to judge or to put him in that position. But I'm gonna give him the best the best that I can to be able to make his own choices. Um, Another question. I see you left Vimo. Do you have something new? Yeah, I left Vimo indeed a couple of weeks back. No, I don't have something new yet. I'm looking into several options. I might be interested in working with Bart, who's listening right now. So see if that works. Also been in contact with a training agency in the Netherlands that are developing courses. That's very interesting. I think I love to share what I do by doing AMAs on LinkedIn, but also organizing events, being on stages, trying to share what I do. One, because I just like the sharing what I do. I don't think that's very secretive what I do, and if I can help others with that, that's great. The second thing is that being on stage or educating people makes me think about my job, what I'm actually doing. So it helps me get my thoughts in order, and yeah, that's what I need to do to bring my message to someone else, to a group of people, and teaching them. I need to think about those things myself first, and that really helps me in my process. And it also helps me get into contact with other people, because if you're on a stage, you're bound to get some feedback from people in the audience, either saying, hey, this is indeed what I'm doing or I'm working on, or hey, this is completely different, or hey, you're full of shit, we should talk about this because it's all bullshit you're talking about. And that's great. That's the best way for me to learn, I think, outside of actually doing the job, of course, but that's a great additional thing to expand my knowledge. So yeah, so teaching. I think that's going to be, or developing a course is going to be a great one. So others will be teaching besides me. I won't be the only one. If that goes through. So they're still deciding on if they're gonna go through with the course, but if they will, that might be very interesting to do. So yeah, Arno, what I'm gonna do next, I don't know yet. Maybe a bit of freelance, maybe another agency. I don't know. I like. I'm tending to prefer smaller and smaller businesses, actually. There's a lot of overhead and a lot of politics that gets into those larger companies. So I'm actually so I worked at Randstad once, where I had like 47,000 colleagues. I think that's the biggest company I worked at. Yeah, if you want to get something done there, that's challenging to say the least. So I might go for smaller and smaller companies, or maybe just freelance for a while, or like I said, maybe a smaller agency if that works out. That might be great. I don't know yet, but I do see that. I mean, a lot of companies, understandably, are not necessarily in a hiring mood right now with the whole Corona crisis going on, which makes sense. So it's a bit weird now to get to reach out to companies for hiring purposes. I'm not sure if that's even going to work out. So, but on the other hand, some companies see this, I guess, as an opportunity to change their business, to actually expand and use this to grow. And I think specifically those companies that are starting to invest right now. I think those are the companies I want to work at. I think those are the smarter companies. And Pep Laya from CXL actually wrote an article on this a couple of days or maybe last week. Let me see if I can find it. It's so it's definitely on cxl.com on their blog. Let's see if I can find it. Let me take a drink. I think it's this one. What the best growth teams get right? Is that one? No, it's not that one. Let me see. So tell me, Arnold, how's income a different thing with working with smaller businesses? Doesn't necessarily need to mean they have less money for salaries or compensation, right? Yes, this one. I'll so it's the title of the blog from I think it was from Prep, right? Oh no, it's not from Prep. It's on the CXL blog, but it was written by Derek Gleason. It's marketing and growth lessons for uncertain times. I'll post it in the chat right now. I think that's a great article showing why companies should actually start investing during these kind of times. I mean, if you can, of course. If you don't have the bandwidth to spare, if you don't have anything on your bank account, that's going to be a very challenging thing, of course. But if you do, it shows it is actually research based. Of course, something we all in zero industry like research-based reasons why you should start investing in these kinds of times, and not necessarily to grow within the period that that's a crisis, but afterwards you'll grow much faster after the recession. Arnold suggests get in a bigger company, but at C-level. Yeah, so I was a chief psychology officer once. So that was C-level. Yeah, but still. And but a smaller company can be C-level too, right? I mean, maybe it doesn't mean that much. So yeah, I've shared the article, so I have a read on that one. And so if you have any questions, let me know in the chat. If you're listening right now. So yeah, I don't necessarily know yet what I'm gonna do. So another thing I did this week, what I worked on, was actually going through some books. I'm currently reading a book. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. I think I'm in chapter 4 right now of this book, Experimentation Works. Written by Stephen H. Tomke. And I think it's very interesting. It's about running business experiments. So basically, it's written for CRO. A lot of the examples do come from Booking.com or Microsoft or basically the obvious companies. I'd almost say, Stephanie, I think he's he's linked or he worked with Optimisely, so a lot of the examples come from that. But regardless, I think it's a pretty good book so far. Quite some interesting things, not a lot of extremely new things, I guess, but for someone that works in CRO. But like I said, it's always nice to hear other professionals in the field talk about it, and I think this would be a perfect gift if you as a CRO professional start working for a new company, or whether it's as a freelancer or within a larger organization. Get this book and give it to your manager. I think that will be a pretty good gift to get them maybe into the mindset of how these things work, and realize that it's not always going to be a successful experiment. A lot of experiments don't go well. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's a failed experiment. I mean, the experiment might still be very real and very useful, but it doesn't always lead to an increase in business success. And those kind of things are repeated in this book, and I think those are important to know for companies to realize, to keep them aware of those things. But I started. So this is the book I'm reading this week. So I started on zero.cafe/books, which is I think there are only 12 books in there right now. But if you go there, zero.cafe/books, you'll see a couple of books and a couple of Dutch ones in there, but also a couple of I think most of them are English right now. My idea is to get an overview of CRO books. So if you have a suggestion on how to make this more useful for you, if you're on CRO and if you're into reading books, and most of these I think are both in written like paperback or hardcover form and in available in Audible. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I don't know. It's useful for me. That's why I'm doing it. I like putting these things in an overview. Let me know if this is also useful for you. So right now I included the title, where you can get it. At the Dutch Management Book or bol.com, or you can get it on Amazon. Those links are in there. Added a small summary. Added reviews from Goodreads, so those are important. So you can read reviews from other readers, what they thought of it. If I did a podcast with the author, that's linked there too, and the other way around. So if you go to a podcast page, and that author, the guest in the show also written a book, that's linked there too. So they're related to each other. But let me know how I can make this more useful for you. Let me know. And as you can see, I have more books behind me than are currently on the website, so I'll be adding those too. The Honest Truth About Dishonesty from Dan Ariely. Trust is on the Line is actually it's more like a scientific paper in book form. This is not for CRO. Let's not talk about that one. And yeah, so a couple of books here. You should test that. Lean Analytics. So a lot of books related to CRO, and let me know how I can make that list more useful if there's something that you do. I think I should add Audible links there too. I'm a big fan of Audible. Most books I read are through Audible, both fiction and non-fiction. Yeah, if you're interested in this, I can. So my most interesting reads. So currently, I'm very much into The Expanse. I've already seen the TV series, but I haven't read the books. I'm into that one. Together with my girlfriend, actually. So we use that at night to to fall asleep too. And that's how nerdy we are, apparently. So what I'm reading right now, besides Experiment Works from Stephen, what did I read before? Oh yeah, the Science of Sci-Fi was on Audible from Aaron McDonald's. It's a fairly short book. But I don't have that one right now. But that was really cool. So let me see, what else did I read that I liked? No. Next up is The Design of Everyday Things, a classic one. A classic CRO book, or usability book by Don Norman. Should add that one to the list too. Friction by Roger Dooley. I think it was from last year. Definitely should add that one. So I have a lot of things to do with adding things to that list. I don't see any more questions. I think we're live now for over half an hour. I think that's a great time for an AMA. So let's keep it at that. Thanks for celebrating my 20 million 20 million minutes on this planet. It's been lovely. I hope to do. I have to stay here at least for another 20 million, and make the most of that together with all of you guys. And I hope to share a lot of those moments with you guys. If you have any questions, keep adding them to the chat. I'll read that later on. Next week I'll have another Zero Cafe podcast, of course. And I don't remember about. I'm not sure if I have it planned yet. I'm live finding out I don't have a recording for next week's. Yeah. So that I remember. So we have one scheduled with yours and Bos. So I'm gonna name and shame them from this book. Online Invloed, it's a Dutch book of course. Zo pas je bewezen gedragspsychologie toe voor betere online resultaten. We actually had a session planned, a podcast planned with them. They didn't show up. What the hell, guys? So, but we have another one planned for, I think, next Wednesday. Let me see. Let me check my calendar. Next Friday, Friday 15th. So I won't get a podcast from them this week, but I do have a podcast recording. For next week with Marianne Stjernval. She works for TUI, and she's the queen of Zero, self-proclaimed, I think, or maybe that's how her colleagues call her. So I think that's a good sign at least. So I'm going to talk to her in the podcast, and that one will be published next Monday. So if you don't want to miss that, go to zero.cafe and subscribe in your favorite podcast app. And also, by the way, I'm doing more and more live streams and doing more and more videos. If you want to know more about that when they go live, you can go to youtube.com/myname, youtube.com/Guido Jansen, GuidoJansen. You can read that in the title of this live stream on LinkedIn. And there I'll be publishing more and more content. And I'm also actually thinking about doing like a Zero Basics. Well, not necessarily course, but Zero Basics, small basics on Zero. So if you want to know more about that, or have ideas on topics to discuss in Zero Basics for Zero Cafe in video form, let me know. So thanks everyone. I think that's it for this evening. Time for me to go to bed and clean up, I guess. Thanks again, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.